Hi, I'm Loren Hill. I teach fibers here at Concord Center for the Visual Arts, and I wanted to walk you through just a few things that we'll cover in class, just to give you a taste of some of the techniques we could demo, if that was something that the class wanted to see, and also one of the inspiration prompts and the different ways that students can respond using a variety of materials. This class is really focused on being a more of a guiding force for artists who maybe have some experience in fibers and want to kind of branch out a little bit more, maybe add a few other fibers techniques to their toolkit, or want to delve real deep into some of their the possibilities of their fibers technique of choice. All right, so one of the inspiration prompts we will cover in relation to color is building a color vocab. And what this means is building your own unique lexicon of color and what those colors specifically mean to you. So what we're talking about here is all the different connotations we bring to color. Color is such an important factor in our memories. Many of us remember more strongly when we connect something to a color. So that's why it's used a lot in early childhood development to sort of ingrain things into our minds. So it's important to unpack what our unique and personal and cultural connections to color are, so that we can bring all of that content and association into our work and make work that maybe speaks our voice a little louder and with more individuation. So I've shown you here how this starts to look. The way that it's done is you make these little squares, combining at least 2 different fibers to make a specific color. If you're working with fabric, if you're a sewer, you could cut up different stripes of fabric and stitch them together to make a new color. So that's happening here with some of these woven pieces. It's creating a new optical color. This optical mixing is when you have 2 stripes, perpendicular stripes, overlaying each other that are the same size in a repeated pattern. It starts to produce an optically mixed color, right? So you start to read this as halfway in between the purple and blue yarn that it is made up of, all right? So it looks like a little bit darker version of the purple, right? That's optical mixture, and we'll go over that as well, especially in relation to our weavers or weaving. But it happens with crochet and knitting as well, so that optical mixture is so key to the use of color in fibers. So we've made these squares from these different yarn or fabric, and we've started to name them in relation to our association to that color. I prompt you with this with a couple different suggestions. So it starts out with making 3 different squares to represent 3 different sounds. Okay, so I have 2 here, this one being chirping frogs, and this one being shattering pots. So students approach this a couple different ways. Sometimes they think of 3 sounds that pop out from their memory and then work from that to find the color. You know, it helps sometimes to close our eyes and imagine that sound and then kind of see at the back of our eyelids a color that might emerge. Or sometimes people just make a color and then see what pops up from their memory, okay? So there's a couple different ways, both valid, just different ways that people's brains work, ways that people's association and memory works. Okay, the other ones I have is 3 different foods. So sometimes these can be foods from your childhood. Maybe it's something you're just gravitating to a lot recently in quarantine or wherever you are. But mine here are popcorn, movie theater style specifically, and blueberries straight from the garden or right off the shrub. The other ones, other prompts, there's quite a few, but I'll just show you one more, and that's finding 3 colors for 3 different activities. So one is viewing distant vistas here, drinking ice cold water on a summer day, and walking at night. All right, so I'm sort of pulling from, for example, this one, that darkness, that dark value tone to this color, the fact that it has these sort of shimmering bits of silver in it makes me think of points of light that you see at night and how they are kind of beacons that light your way. And then that purple, which for me makes me think of all the things in the shadows, or the things that are more ambiguous when you're walking around at night, how it makes everything feel a little bit more unfamiliar, and the surprise in that. Okay, so ultimately your color grid gets a lot larger than this, but it helps you to sort of start to see the different threads that you might pull when incorporating color into your work that goes beyond just arbitrary color picking, right? This starts to bring in the content, bring in the meaning, bring in the intention and purpose. It's all about making physical what's already there inside of us. We just sometimes need that little bit of a tug down the path forward. And hoping this class can be that for you. Hoping to see you in class. Feel free to reach out if you have questions.